you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
I'm ready, my man. I'm fired
Back
up.
at it.
Yeah,
Back at it.
we had a real good
It's
show
like
yesterday, Mike.
it was a good show. Today will be good too. This is the annual. It's like Groundhog Day. It's like every year we got to do the annual post Mosconi. What went wrong and how do we fix it? Set of
Yeah,
series of shows.
I like getting different perspectives, and it's funny
Yeah,
because so I saw Matchroom's post earlier about like what needs to happen with Team USA, and some of those comments were just hilarious, like take 2 weeks off and quit and that kind of shit. You know what I mean? So, uh, I just some of the stuff that you'll find on the internet, especially from pool fans, like it's always awesome. So,
yeah,
but Dennis though yesterday was great, man. I mean, listen, you know me, I'm not Mister Red, White, and Blue. You know what I mean? Like I'll bet on Team Europe on a yearly basis, but man, Dennis got me fired up for Team USA, man. Like he got my, you know, got that guns blazing.
yeah. Good.
Do you think he'll be a good fit if he were to get that spot?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it. He says all the right things. He's got the reputation. He's got he's got some skills. It was interesting. He talked about having gone through um, uh, kind of leadership, mentorship type of training through AA, right?
Yeah,
Through his alcohol recovery. And that was interesting because it is probably something that suits him to being able to organize thoughts and get people to understand what a mission is and a goal
sure.
is and how to get
Yeah, yeah.
there and things like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think you just got to have tools and resources, But like we mentioned before, it's about getting the players to be open to taking that feedback. And there was some online stuff, especially on the show, where I was just like, I'm not so sure that some of these players would be interested in receiving said feedback, But as when I went
Well, and
to,
that's the difference between and having the tools to work on that idea, right? I mean, that's why we always talk about Johan and his abilities, is because he's trained for that, through a training system for coaches and teachers and whatever at high level sports, all that training that he went through. It's not just I have an idea. He's studied the book on how to do that. Right?
yeah,
And so that's why I thought it was interesting that Dennis went through some courses for something similar, and that to me uh, increased his level of credibility with me in terms of being able to organize the message, right? And so that's where it becomes a little bit more than just saying, I'll get the most out of these players. Well, hey, everybody says that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you just gotta command respect as a part of it. And this guy, our guest that
Yeah,
we're gonna be bringing in, certainly does that. Gave me one of the most cold-blooded responses I've ever gotten in asking a question that I'll never forget in the Moscone Cup, and he certainly has a lot of experience. But before we dive into Moscone Cup, Mike, I'm gonna put the Moscone Cup talk on hold for a few minutes because there's very little time that I get to talk one pocket on this show, and the guy down below is a one pocket aficionado. Alex Lely, welcome back to the show, man. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Nice to be here. What was the cold-blooded response?
I was
Didn't
so it
I
was at
didn't
Bally's.
mean to. I didn't mean to.
No, 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 no. You were just like you had ice running through your veins. So we were at Bally's and we were at the bar. Like I think we were getting ready to go to dinner or something, and you and the whole team was there. And I probably talked shit or something like in the morning during the pregame or something. And so you looked at me and you did this number here, and I was like, "Fuck, man, here we go." Like I already know I'm in the doghouse. And so but as I think we were talking about the lineups and they were wanting to switch something around. But anyway, throughout that, I think it was after day one, I asked you, I was like, well, you guys are down 3 or 4 to 1. Like, are you nervous right now? And you just looked me dead in my eyes and you were like, if you were down 4 to 1 going to 11, would you be nervous? And I was like, well, I would be nervous, but clearly you're not nervous. So I'm just not going to ask that question ever again, And so, but that just shows like the grit and tenacity that you and the team embodied. And so, yeah, it's different mentalities. And me and Mike talked about this yesterday. Like when I see the Europeans, if I were to see the Europeans in a bit of a hole, which you don't see very often over the last few years, I have faith in them. You know, like when I watch David, and I think it was where did David scratch on that 8 ball when they were down 2-0 and they spotted them basically 2 games. But I still had faith in that team. Whereas the Americans, if they're in a hole, I don't have very much.
You know what's funny? You know what's
faith.
funny?
What's that?
News goes fast nowadays. Yeah, all
Sure.
news.
Yeah.
And everything changes from day to day. So now you say this about the European team, and now rewind and think back about how you guys talked, how everyone talked about Team Europe or the rest of the world in the Reyes Cup.
Yeah.
So the thing that you mentioned about the European team, it's not a given. It's not a built-in characteristic. It's something that they established during the Moscone Cup, but it can easily be broken down.
Yeah.
That's a
Just-
great. That's
Just
a great
saying
point.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me ask you this on that note then. What do you feel like was missing from that rest of the world team? Because I mean, besides not having, time to gel or prepare relative to a European team like we just saw, what do you feel like was missing from that team?
Well, for the bits that I've seen and for the things that I've read online and heard online, what was missing was belief, collective belief, and giving it your 100%. Exactly, some things that are held against Team USA after Mosconi Cup now were said about Team Rest of the World, and the year before that about Europe.
Right.
So it would be interesting to hear from the European players that were in the Reyes Cup, how they combine the performance and their showing in the Reyes Cup with the euphoria of the Mosconi Cup, or the acted euphoria. We don't know.
It's a good point. Mike?
Well, they would tell you. I mean, Jason Shaw will tell you that there's only 400 players, only 400 fans in the stands, and I don't get excited enough to play the Reyes Cup. It's boring. That would be his excuse. I don't know about someone like Moritz or Francisco, who did not play great there. Yeah, we'd have to ask him. Well, he didn't play in both events, but Jason and Moritz did, and it would be interesting to.
But it's so that aside, I don't think maybe we don't need to talk about that. I think you guys want to talk about what everyone is talking about now is what to change.
Well,
Like
I mean,
you
it's
said,
it's
Mike
relative
said in
to the
intro,
conversation.
It's a yearly discussion. So what are
Yeah,
we
we
going
have
to
this
do?
every year.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, let me ask you this because before we go dive into Mosconi Cup, like I'm of the belief that if you were to get, and I'm not saying this past European team, but I'm of the belief that if you got Europe's top 5 guys, they could go in there and give Team Asia a run for their money. I'm not saying it could be filled with Americans along with that, but I think if you got Europe's top 5 guys, they could give them a pretty decent battle. I know the year one didn't reflect that, nor did year two, but maybe I'm just an idiot.
Well,
I believe so.
well, the other side of that is you'd have to have your Asia's best team too, which you didn't have either year.
Sure. Yeah.
So what? Yeah,
You
I mean,
replace-
is it an exhibitional event or is it a real competition? What are the stakes? Can you win something?
Yeah.
That's something for Matchroom to look at.
Give me some positives to take away from Team USA as you watch the Mosconi Cup, Alex, if there were any, and what was your outlook on the red, white, and blue last week?
Well, the positives are that there's still a lot of belief out there in them, and I also thought that they actually had that belief. It was a little bit fragile,
Sure.
and of course, the circumstances playing in Ali Pali and then missing some clutch shots early on in the cup, that doesn't help. But I think it's still there. I mean, it looked good for a little bit.
What
It looked
Rex,
good for a little bit, and people say online, it's only a few missed 9 balls that would have made the difference. True, but that marginal difference is at the same time the result of a lot of hard work. I think if you have better fundamentals, it holds up better under pressure. If you have a stronger collective belief with your unit, your crew, the same 9 ball will not feel as much as a test as it might have been for the American players.
do you feel like that belief was genuinely there amongst that team, like amongst themselves? And maybe they thought they could go and win when they went in there, but in terms of like how you saw their psyche and just body language and things like that amongst each other, like having faith in one another.
Maybe I believe that they believed more before it started, and then as it was unfolding, it was difficult to maintain that belief. Yeah, what can I say? Listen, Johan. So a trainer coach, putting a trainer coach on the spot as a manager of the team, it helps if that's a professional. So I don't doubt other people's intentions and other people's motivations and passion, but the players are professionals. The game is professionalizing rapidly.
Sure.
Put someone there that knows, that was trained to do this. When Johan took the reins over Team US, he invested, I don't know the details, but he invested a lot of time.
Yeah.
So months before, he was looking up the players, spending time one-on-one. You need to invest. So even though maybe, I don't know, but even though maybe the USA thought they had dedicated themselves enough to have a firm belief, it takes time to make it grow and make it grow stronger. So I read online, Skylar said, how is a coach going to help me play better pool?
Yeah.
A coach does many things. He guarantees accountability. He takes care of cohesion, of planning, scheduling, holds people accountable, but also there are little things that can be done to upgrade someone's game if you start 3-4 months before.
But do you think those players, and I'll just stick to the USA side, do you think that they want to be held accountable? Because I'm not so much of a believer in it.
Well, I know Johan has been able with them to make
Sure.
hard choices.
Right.
I doubt I don't doubt Jeremy Jones's intentions, but I think if you're too close to the players, it becomes hard to make those tough decisions.
Yeah.
But you need to get them all on board for sure, and that but it also grows. So let's say, but I'm talking for Johan. I cannot, if he or someone else would be put in that place, you start 4 months before and try to grow confidence, because the first year that Johan worked with them was not a success.
No.
Right.
He made some, but now I'm analyzing his decisions. I just wanted to make sure that to bring across my view on training coaching, because I see many people talk online. What is a coach supposed to do? But I think the professionality and the experience, it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's not the passion. Basically, the passion should be there. It shouldn't need to be instilled by the captain or the manager or the coach or whatever you call it, because you're playing the Mosconi Cup. So the vibe and the intensity, you don't need to instill that. You need to keep the ship on course and instill faith with the players.
Yeah. What do you got, Mike?
No, I think it's all stuff that's very true, and Alex knows, from having gone for so long and having been around for teams that have won and for teams that haven't, have underperformed, and a lot of it, comes down to also a trained coach knows how to handle the different people on that team because they don't all get handled the same way. And so you have to know which buttons to push for this guy, which buttons to push for that guy, and you have to know how to instill that in that particular player. And again, we keep referring to Johan in this situation because the fact of the matter is that he's really the only truly classically trained
okay.
Olympic style coach.
Let me toot my own horn. I've done this. I've done.
Yeah, no, you as well.
Okay,
you
yes,
trained as well.
but Johan has a legacy. He has a proven track record.
Right.
I've won Mosconi Cups, but he won 2 with the US, and he was the one that made Europe a winning team back in the day in 07. He won with Stepanov and with Tony Drago and with Daryl Peach and Niels and Suke in Vegas. That's when the whole thing started to turn. So he has a track record. I can talk about what I do with players, but in Mosconi Cup, there's no denying that Johan is the man. Now, what I would like to see, and as I'm here, I have this place to make that call. I would like to see a partnership, but that's up to them, with D. Atkins. Him and D. Atkins.
You mean Johan and D. Atkins? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because D. Atkins is investing he's putting in a lot of work and effort, and he's very sincere and trustworthy. For me, as I see it, he is one of the building blocks of your American pool. He's a very experienced coach. He has a lot of grounding with the players. And just like Jeremy Jones was sort of had an intermediary position with Johan when they worked with the US, I think it could be a good partnership, and it would be a great way to give D. Atkins more of a podium and to infuse more knowledge into American pool through D.
I certainly think D has seeds planted with the youth, that's for sure, and that'll be a big value add for the long term growth of the American team. And he loves working with kids and does a really good job with our juniors all across the country. I mean, I think he's got his own little setup out there on the East Coast.
Exactly, he has a little bit of an academy. Let's not forget he won all around at the Derby.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Alex.
In the Midwest, he's one of the icons as a player.
Who's your pick to win all around this year? Since I didn't get asked my one pocket question earlier.
Well, I don't know. Federer's probably playing. I don't know if Josh Filler's playing. He won Buffaloes last year. Either one of them.
Well, I think I saw somewhere where you're playing Buffaloes this year, so certainly Josh is going to be knocked off the podium.
It's only my second one pocket tournament in the US. Yeah, but it's like the World Championships of one pocket. You're playing a race to 5. It's nice.
I agree with you. 1,000,000% I agree with you. I feel like that is the one pocket World Championship. It's a long race. It's a grind. There's no time limit or gaffy rules. It's just pure one pocket. May the best man win on some super tough equipment. Let me ask you this, Alex. Would you have any interest in coming back and being a coach? And I know there was whenever you left, I was kind of surprised that you didn't want to return. But after seeing what's going on the last couple of years, is that something that you've even thought about at all?
Yeah, I've thought about it. At some point, I sent an email and then another one to suggest that I could do something together with D. Atkins. But my inbox remained void, so I guess I work in television, and there it's very easy. If you don't get the call, everyone says you're doing fine, until they stop calling, or your gig just continues. But
we know how bad the Italian mail system is, though, Alex. So it could be lost in the mail.
No, I'll tell you a story. So I now live in Italy 2 years, and it's the difference between the Netherlands and Italy is much bigger than I anticipated. So here, the new year starts, and then I need a certificate from the doctor to go to the gym, and then it costs €40. like $50.
Yeah.
And I take out, like in the Netherlands, you don't ever bring cash or money to the doctor, but I take out my cash and it's $40. And he said, give me 20. This is like, it's unheard of. Anyway.
That's wild, man.
By the way, I
That's
had
weird.
now I had my first American player over for coaching. I can't tell his name, but he was here for a month, and he's very much a money player, and he wanted to learn the European way. This was like, I knew it was long. I knew it was going to be long for him and for me. We had fun. He's a good guy, but it was very inspiring and interesting to see like the whole transformation, because like a gambler, I'm sidetracking, yeah.
No, you're fine.
A gambler is he just wants to hit his gear. Can be after an hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, as long as he'll hit his gear, and then he can get all his losings back, and then all is fine. And then European style, more methodical, is to play that one race to 9. So he had to learn to play a lot more conscious. And so he became conscious about his technique. He became conscious about his shot selection. Was very interesting. So
without getting too personal, Alex, what is a trip like? If I want to go out there and train with you for a month, what's that going to run me? If I reach out to you, if I email you or send you a message?
Yeah, just send me a message.
Okay.
It's if you
It
come a
depends
month,
on if you want him to cook for you and everything too. It's totally different.
well, oh yeah. So
Are they staying with you? They're staying at your house?
Yeah, I have a nice setup. They'll have their own floor, and I was well. It depends who. I knew this kid. He's a good kid, but I feel very responsible. And so, apart from the pool coaching, I thought I was very interested to see how the change in diet, what that would do for him, because I take it to my heart, like how the American diet is, and I was cooking a lot. He was doing the dishes, and he was eating healthy, and he was amazed about how good he started to feel after like 8, 9, 10 days. He was feeling amazing. He was feeling so good, and he was like, everything is fresh here, everything is home cooked, and he became very aware of how much of a difference that makes. So if you think about the Jason Shaw videos or Team Europe videos, that's another discussion, by the way, about the apartment. I don't know what happened there, but Team Europe had this setting and they cooked together. That's big, like cooking together and enjoying your food together. That's like basically in old-fashioned societies and families, that's the pillar of unity.
Yeah.
Are those types of things you're focusing on as a captain, as far as like keeping everyone together throughout the entire process, like whether it's 2 weeks or whatever ahead of the event?
Yeah, well, it's important. We cooked when I was there, and Jason Shaw. I mean, Jason Shaw is doing great in the Mosconi Cup. It looks great. He's keeping them together and actually choosing to stay together for 2 weeks. That's a commitment.
Yeah,
because that's the same thing as me having a player for a month. You're gonna hit the low if you stay together that long. If you stay together longer than 4 or 5 days, you're gonna hit the low. But that's the intention. That's almost the intention. You need to hit a crisis so you can solve it. You can talk about it. Everyone hugs and makes up, and things are better because of it.
I love that approach, and it makes a lot of sense, man. To be honest, out of all the conversations that I've had with a lot of people, the diet part is one that really intrigues me, at least at this point in my life, Alex, because that's something that, nutrition is something I've been really trying to focus on over the last 6 months. And you feel it, man. Like when you're eating better, your energy levels throughout the day, the way you wake up, your ability to go to sleep. I mean, so many aspects of your overall well-being. And I think, like, as a culture, and especially here in the States, it's just like it's about convenience. You know?
Sure, but you're a father. You're a father, a little bit older.
Yeah.
So that's a different role. So it's sort of
Sure.
easier to strive for better habits. But this guy is younger, so it's a big test for him now when he's back in the States to maintain those habits when around him people are doing differently. Let's hope. I just hope I sort of opened his eyes.
Well, you want to mention the player?
No,
Okay. Okay.
he needs to win his money back.
I was
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
say, you don't want to ruin his
he's facing
action.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you
Well,
got,
the
Mike?
thing is. Listen, we wrote some goals on paper, and there's a long-term goal, and it's all about transforming from a gambling player to a professional. So, but it's a process. So the first year, I can't mention his name.
How if let's say you were to get offered a role, or even Johan for that matter, or anybody who's qualified and can realistically like sink their teeth in, how long would you need in order for it to like really take hold? Because I said the other day, I thought anything less than 3-year commitment is just going to be a waste of time, because I think you have to be able to plant your seeds as a leader and then give it time to kind of develop, see what's going to work, see what's not going to work, and give it like a fair shot at taking hold.
Yeah, well, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
It's more like how many months how much time in the next 12 months would I choose, would I feel necessary to dedicate?
Right. Yeah.
And the first thing for me I would need to see eye to eye with the players, one-on-one, to feel out how much trust there could be.
Yeah.
Can I get him on board?
Do you think you could get through to the Americans given the big
No,
personalities?
I'm not going to talk for them. I like me as a coach. I
Sure.
get great feedback from players. But then again, what I saw with the American player, I'm well aware. What I saw with the one guy, with the individual, it's the same thing, but then in a group. Make people do things that they're not used to doing, and you'll get resistance.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, they're not gonna say 5 of them, oh, we love doing stuff we don't know. This is totally different from what we've done for the past 20 years. Thank you for opening our eyes.
I going back to Sky's comment, like you mentioned before, and he mentioned part of it was like, how are you going to tell a top pro who goes and plays week in and week out, like, how to hit a ball? But
you're not telling him how to hit a ball. So that's the trainer part. The trainer looks at this game. Yeah, and drills will show if you're being up to par or not. Yeah, but I don't like drills. Yeah, okay, but that's an approach that's difficult to work with. But there are still ways to measure someone's ball striking. Tyler is selling those balls, from Chris Henry, the snooker coach.
Yeah.
That's a way to determine if you're hitting the ball pure. You can put tape on your. There's many ways that you can expose flaws, and if you find a flaw, don't reject it, accept it, and say that you're willing to work on your game. And it's not going to be perfect, but in a couple months, in a year, 2 years, it can get better. So the main question is a player willing? Does he still have the hunger to work on his game? Because when I played Mosconi, I played in 99 and 05, we were the underdogs, big time. But in all those years, everyone that later became a winning Moscone Cup player was crafting his game. We were working hard, we were practicing, we were traveling to the States, we were competing. And this was not because federations paid our entry fees and expenses, but because we were dedicated and hungry to to get there. So it's okay if you have a losing team as long as the mindset is right. Are they willing to, I don't want to be judgmental because maybe someone is 32, has a family, kids, and he's making money in different ways, and it's okay. Then
Right.
that's okay. But it's difficult to create a collective with work ethic if not everyone is on the same page.
Jump on in, Mike.
No, I think it's very interesting what you're talking about, that it all makes sense. And I like the idea of, spending time with the players one-on-one and trying to figure out who's on board and who isn't. After that, though, how would you ideally like a team to be chosen? Are you in favor of automatic spots? Are you against? Is 3 too many? How much influence would you want over there? Because you could have your number 1 or 2 guys not really be on the same page with your thoughts. So does that person make the team or not?
Yeah, good question. Well, the thing is, I'm sure Skylar really followed his gut, choosing Bailey, and he got a lot of stick for that. Many people, myself included, would have chosen Lucas. And if you have 1 or 2 wild cards, it's always possible that a captain picks wrong. I don't know, 3 and 2, like 3 through the rankings and 2 wild cards seems okay. For me, it feels okay. I don't think that's where things go wrong.
So, but what if one of those automatic picks is not your style?
Right. Great question, Mike.
If one of the picks through the rankings,
right?
Yeah,
but that's you. Earlier we spoke about trained coach and the value of being a good communicator and being able to shift your communication depending on the individual. You're playing the hand that you're dealt. So you're being flexible and you're being able to adapt.
I love the ownership, and it's true because as a leader, that's on your shoulders to be able to adapt to them as well, and be able to pivot. And just like you're expecting these guys to not have ideal circumstances when they're out battling, neither are you to some extent. If it's 3 on points or whatever, where maybe they won't be your guys. So I love that response.
Yeah, and beforehand you might have an idea, but it's always in hindsight that you have 2020. In hindsight, the one guy that maybe was a little bit not to your liking could turn out to be the X factor.
Yeah,
you got to work it right. So there are things regarding Mosconi Cup. We could talk for a long time or not, because I think many things are already said by many people. For me, the most important, what I wanted to contribute is to emphasize the professionalism of a coach who knows what he's doing, and it's an all-round. It's a mix of activities that he's supposed to do: communicating, cohesion, accountability, little bit of a trainer coach, motivation. It's all there, but it's still short term. It's still short term. Like American Pool is also, they also need to figure out what is needed to produce more players.
right.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, cultivate the ones that you got there on deck. And you mentioned you mentioned Lucas, and what was it about his game where you thought, or what you've seen from him, where you thought he would be a value add to that team?
Good fundamentals.
Yeah,
I think I follow him for a couple of years now, and I think he's young. Shot selection wise, he still flaws now and again. But if you tell him, make this ball, he has a very solid technique. And he's playing all games. He plays. He's a little too hungry in that and I told him, in that he's always trying to match up.
Yeah.
He's always in action, but I feel like now he's at the point in his career, if he starts to guard his energy a little more and focus and actually try to peak at tournaments, that he'd be better. So the transformation from being a matching up player to a full-blooded professional.
Do you think, though, having those roots, because that's always been the debate, especially with like action players or just online fans or whatever, do you feel like on the American side of things that having those roots as far as gambling or being in action, and again, you got to have balance, right? Like anything else in life.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that prepares them for situations like making a tournament run or, being able to deal with pressure like the Mosconi Cup?
The game. Well, yeah, I think so. Like the player I had here, what he showed me is a lot of heart and big balls.
Yeah.
He's a good shot maker. He'll swing his cue. He'll go for a big stroke when he thinks it's time to go. And this is something that European players in general have a little less because it's more a head thing. Very methodical, very precise. So there's definitely a value in having been under the pump and under pressure and playing big games, 2-man tournaments. But in the end, playing Moscone Cup in the matchroom arena, I think the best preparation for that is getting deep in matchroom tournaments or other organizers' tournaments. Just being on the main stage.
Yeah.
Because the cloth, the difference maybe between a matchroom and other organizers are the pocket sizes. So that makes it very specific, playing in the matchroom arena.
Do you think you can get a winning team out of some of those players that you had there for Team USA, or all those players you had there for Team USA this past year?
Well, yeah, it's possible because it was closer than the scoreline suggests.
Yeah.
You're still an underdog.
It's always closer than the scoreline could suggest because
but this year more than ever, Mike, I feel like it really does.
It's like if we didn't miss all those balls, we'd have won. Well,
Yeah.
But at the same time,
if my brother was a girl, he'd be my sister.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
At the same time, good point, because at the same time, like it's very marginal at the top. So if I get a player here and we work for 5 days, he goes home a better player and a smarter player and more knowledgeable. But in order for that work to transpire in results, it's about 1-2 shots. He can go to Vietnam, play a good tournament, and miss one important shot, and then there's no result.
Right.
So it's very difficult in 9-ball to get it done. So you can measure only in the Moscone Cup.
Yeah.
They need to play a lot, compete a lot, perform, have some deep runs, and then it'll be easier to nurture that belief.
Yeah, as I was asking that question, I'm reminded of like all those years ago where it was like they lost like 6 hill matches, did Team USA, and it was like the same kind of attitude where, it's a lot closer than what the scoreline suggested, and I think that's the brutal part to some extent. It's like you can almost taste it as an American fan, but then God damn it, we never get there.
Listen, I tune in to see a close Mosconi Cup.
Right.
I would like to see the US win. It's because not only because it's good for the event, but also because I have friends in the States.
Yeah.
But they need, it's going to, if once it happens, it'll be the result of a long-term scheduling, a lot of effort, commitment, working hard, and finally they get there. I'm not saying they're not working hard now, but they can work harder.
I love that attitude. Mike, what do you got?
You know, we always talk about Europeans work harder than the Americans. What does the word mean? I mean, you know, the Americans all play in a lot of tournaments. They gamble. They do this. They do that. They do practice drills now and then, I suppose. Whatever. But I mean that the Europeans work harder.
Okay, so this is very black and white. What I say about a European doesn't go for all, and the same for Americans. It doesn't go for all, but it's about the choices that you make. So, how much do you practice, or can you only practice when you're gambling? Because otherwise, you can't focus. Are you a student of the game? Are you studying shot selection? Are you working on your technique? Are you seeking advice? Today, I read Brombeck. He said about European players that they'll ask top players because last year's DCC, Moritz and Pius, I think, went to Brumbeck 2 days, 1 day to get input. So it's
Did they really?
Yeah. And it's being a student of the game, committing yourself. So it's not about making $1 tomorrow and be in action and go broke 3 times a year and pump back up. That's very exciting. That's like your ultimate dopamine rush. Yeah, it's that. But then you're always chasing the nut.
Sure.
So
sure.
it's very a little bit more of a long-term vision. And what else? So little choices. What do you eat? I was working with a player, an American player before, but online, and then we met in Buffalo's last year. And every day when he wasn't playing anymore, he stayed in the pool room. He was eating junk, just hanging about 5-6 hours. I said, what are you doing? We prepared for this, go home, but you know, that also those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like everything geared towards performance. So that's sports, and that's food, and that's having a clear mind. And if practice isn't for you, you don't need to practice 8 hours per day. Maybe do 90 minutes per day. But you, through trial and error and informing yourself, you find the way that peaks your learning curve the most. Spikes.
Well, I couldn't agree more, you know, when it comes to all that. But you also got to have a certain amount of like personal accountability, because you're not going to be sitting by anybody, you know, 20 hours a day either, you know. So guys have to be responsible and disciplined in their own right. And I think that's part of where there's a huge challenge for sure, you know. And that's something that, like, I got a real addictive personality, you know, and that's why, like, when I get back from a trip, I'm right back in the gym because I don't want to slide any, you know. I don't want to have excuses, and I don't want to.
So
If
my
it's
question:
so easy.
when you're on a trip, when you're away, you don't work out.
My energy's
No
way different compared to. That's why I got a lot of respect for these guys who are spending so much time on the road. Like, one, the time difference. Two, I'm always trying to make sure there's a hotel with a gym, you know, and then if there's not, then I'll take my bands with me just so that way I have
Sure.
something, you know.
Even if it's a 20-minute, get some work in.
Get the blood flowing, you know, and try to
Exactly.
keep some sense of normalcy. But then you also factor in how much the diet has an impact on your mental as well, you know, and what you're like. You're not always going to have motivation, you know, so that's where you have to be, you know, disciplined. And so that's something that I struggle with all the time, especially when I go out and eat with this guy right here, because he's, you know, Mr. Cocktail and Mr. Appetizers and, you know, all this and
Wait
that.
a second. Wait a second.
Uncle Mike. Yeah.
Who was chasing who to the gym in Manila?
That's true. Yeah, Mike's pretty solid. That's for sure. But I think that's why I like surrounding myself with people like that. And I remember going back to Bally's, Alex. One day I go in the morning, and it was probably, I forgot what time matches kicked off, but I went down to the gym there at like 7 a.m. and there was all of Team Europe, yourself included, I think, on the treadmill. And then it was Earl doing sit-ups, which was just the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life, because he's just on a bench going up and down, up and down, up and down. But it was like, that was the only guys you saw in there. You know, it was no surprise that you guys ended up coming away with the victory, but it's like you guys approach it differently. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you see different results based off of your approach.
Yeah, but if I were 22 again and living in the States and playing good pool, I would be lured into getting in action all the time as well. It's difficult. And
Yeah.
there's always that big score around the corner. And in the end, if you do the math, do they have money in their pocket? They're not making money. It's they're chasing the nut.
Yeah.
But that's something that players need to figure out for themselves. I don't know the details, but for example, Atencio Jesus.
Yeah.
Another discussion. He's getting American nationality, residency, I think. No, nationality, citizenship. He seems, but I'm looking from afar, he seems to have a nice balance. He does match up, but he's also, he seems to be pretty professional, very professional. Plays a clean game, works hard, keeps himself in tone.
I think Jesus has got a great game, and I think that he's got a ton of potential. And I said years ago I thought he had world championship type player in him. I think he's got that kind of a ceiling to him. But it's always tough with some of these guys. Sure, while you're playing good, more guys want to support you. But then the other side of it, especially for everybody, it's you still got to you still got to remain in the green, and that's where it's difficult for a lot of these players, especially if they're traveling and competing. And if you're not having results, it's difficult just to be able to get by, let alone continue to go along the race.
I think Niels and I, for example, okay, so I'm not, back in the day, I won my share. Let me toot my own horn again. I beaten Efren, Busti, Suke, and Archer in finals. I played, but at the time before that, like the early 90s, for 5, 6, 7 years, we would work, teach, win a tournament here and there, and then all the money was spent on expenses. There was no governmental backup, but we just wanted to make it to the top. We were all in and committed. So it's not easy, but that's exactly what toughens the player. And once he gets to the top, he's made many sacrifices. And those sacrifices fuel his belief or her belief.
I love that response. How bad do you want?
It's one of the cultural. To me, it's part of the cultural difference between the Europeans and the Americans too, as opposed to in terms of that approach to reaching the top. For the most part, and it's a generalization, a lot of the Americans, they are more worried about playing for money and making the money than just breaking even to try to reach a certain level, which is like what Ewan did, Niels did, things like that. So there's just a different approach to it culturally in Europe than there is.
And nowadays, I mean, the prize money is there. There's a lot to play for. Predator just released their agenda for 2026. Rome in August. It's there's a lot to gain. And the thing I try to tell this American kid, what do they say? You aim for the stars and you reach the sky.
Yeah.
If that's your goal, to become like elite professional, and if you don't make it, but in the process you've learned management, organization, lobbying, and playing real good pool, you've grown as a person.
Yeah.
So you always walk away a winner. I know I know it's not easy, but it is not easy. I mean, if you want to have a good future, you got to do like a more guaranteed good future. You need to do something else than play pool. We play pool because we're passionate and maniacs, and we want to go all in. Yeah. But go all in the right way.
Right.
Yeah. I love that attitude, Alex. And I think you make a lot of really great, solid, sound points. And you haven't mentioned the player, but I'm getting a feeling it might be Lucas. But I won't bug you anymore about it. So,
I
but
don't
no,
think I've
it's
seen Lucas off the radar for a month at a time.
No, he's always there.
Yeah, I think Lucas has been around here. Well, if Mike and I come to Rome, can we stay at your flat? I'll cook and he'll do the dishes.
No, I don't have a flat. Listen, it's a 3-store 15th century building. Well, anyway, it's real nice. It's but everything is cheap. Everything is cheap.
Plenty of room for it.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I love it. Love it.
if I want to get some,
Huh?
no, I was going to say, if I want to get some coaching from you, Alex, how can I get a hold of you?
Facebook or email alexlelycoaching@icloud.com.
I thought it was like hand, arm, heart or something.
Oh, yeah, before head, heart, arm @outlook.com.
Yeah.
Use that one.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I'm going to do snooker commentary now. They're playing the snooker shootout in the Tower Circus in Blackpool, where they had the Mosconi Cup in 2014.
Yeah, that was a great venue. It's just too small for Mosconi Cup. I think it was only about 800 or 900, something like that. But it was
it runs Bethnal Green real close.
It's really nice. It's really cool because it's totally in the round. It's like an opera house for pool.
Alex, I appreciate you making time. It's always a pleasure having you on. I hope we can have you on more than once a year. Maybe we could talk some One Pocket whenever I get you back on. Maybe ahead of Buffalo.
Yeah.
So
I'll take that
anyway,
day off.
Are you going to be at the Derby, Alex?
No. Can't. In May, Buffalo's. I'll see you there.
I will see you there. Alex Lely, everybody. Appreciate your time, my man.
All right, guys. Bye.
See you, bud.
Thanks, Alex.
Mike, what do you say?
Oh, I mean, Alex is always, terrific interview. He's really honest. He's really thoughtful. He's really sharp, really smart guy. Always been one of my favorites. So yeah, I mean, everything he said made sense. Shed some light on some, differences and approaches and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I couldn't agree and echo everything that you just said. I got a lot of respect for that guy, and he is incredibly thoughtful and sharp. And I don't think there's some perfect recipe to get the best out of everybody. But I also feel like that you can. The Americans haven't maximized their potential either, and like Alex said, they can work harder. And part of this like online frustration of fans or whatever, it comes from a place of fans wanting to see the Americans compete and have success and live up to the potential,
Right.
And I think that there are pieces in place that could be solid foundation blocks there, Mike. And even Federer said in the chat earlier, as far as just the culture and there being some differences and have to be some major changes there in that aspect. But it's always an interesting debate. Go ahead.
It is. And, when you're talking about, solid traditional coaching, like an Al, like a Johan, or like guys in the States, as you mentioned, like D and people like that, I think that, if you could get a kind of a training regimen or, some kind of formalized thing together, I think it would be to focus on the youth and develop those habits early on. And keep them off bar tables and just if you wanted to bring up that type of player as opposed to coming in and working with 40-year-old players who've been doing the same thing for 20 years, it's different things. So they go hand in hand. I mean, you want U.S. to win Mosconi now, but you want to develop for the future. I'd love to see a two-level approach by the industry to help develop the junior talent. A lot of great junior tournaments now, just a little more structure to what they're learning for, and then get pros ready for events like the World Championships and Moscone Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. And I think, but that they're in like that double sided approach is important because um, they are in different stages of their respective careers. But also, I've seen before where you'll have these younger guys that are hanging out with these older guys that they're looking up to, but then you wind up seeing them pick up these habits. And I'm not saying they picked it up from said player that they
Right.
were hanging around, but that it certainly doesn't help influence how they end up, whether they are more focused on the gambling part of it or end up just drinking all night or whatever. I've seen it, Mike, and I'm not saying
Yeah.
that player would have gone down a different road had they not, but I'm sure it didn't help matters any. The problem is that they look up to these guys, and they idolize them, they respect them, all these things, but um, it's two different courses. They're on two different ships, and so and in Matchroom's case, it's such a hard riddle to go and solve because they need the now to be great, but at the same time, tomorrow is not going to be great if you don't invest in tomorrow either. And there's got to,
Yeah. Right.
so um, yeah, I'm not sure where the answer is, but it's been great getting different perspectives from other guys and seeing how they view it from their lens, especially guys with experience and knowledge and all these things, Mike.
The answer is always in money. And it's money from the standpoint of funding programs to help develop like European countries do. It comes with money like that's in more, look at all the tournaments now. Look at the tournament calendar already starting up for next year. What's in the Matchroom events and independent events, Perry, Qatar, International Open, things like that. They're starting to get enough tournaments, and it's expensive to go to them. I get it, but they're starting to get tournaments where the payouts are decent, and any player who wants any part of that knows that sitting around gambling, drinking all night isn't going to get them there. So you'll find that percentage who are willing to put in the really mechanical, formal, purposeful, this or whatever it takes to build up to that level, because there is something worth going after now.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and it's not cheap, and it's not easy, and whether you're a junior and your parents forking over the bill, or you're an adult trying to figure out a way to pay your rent along with the same time, like I get it, there's obstacles, you know, um, and so you just got to figure it out, like Alex said, whether it's during his other free time outside of winning championships or whatever, of going and teaching and training and doing this and doing that. It's like you got to figure out a way to keep your head above water if you want to have a future in said industry, and life will have a way of testing you, that's for sure, and it's not for
Yeah,
everybody.
it's always a struggle starting out. That's what drives you.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, you got anything else before we get on out of here?
Nope, all good.
Appreciate Alex, and hope to have more guests on coming up. I don't know what all we got going on. I'm probably going to chill for a little bit. Um, come back, hitting them harder than ever next week. And yeah, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see everybody real soon. Later, y'all.